welcome to the Viking Spotlight. This is a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District. I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf. Today we're talking to bus driver, Mrs. Pam Lazarites. We welcome you to our podcast, and we're happy that you're with us. You have one of the toughest jobs in the school district, I got to tell you, and it's none more important. You guys are the first ones that kids see, sometimes the last the kids see for the day, and just so important. We thank you for what you do, but it's a very important thing, and you're our first lines of communications to parents sometimes, and so on. So welcome to
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We'll just dive right into some questions here and get some pieces on why folks would want to be a bus driver, what it entails, and how much fun it is.
Okay. If I could, I'd like, the first question was what made you become a bus driver?
Right.
And I have a little story, if you don't mind.
Sure.
That will tell you why. When you asked me to do this, I was no, yes. And I went home and you told me what day it was, and I looked at the calendar and thought, I better do this today. So this is, I may cry a little bit.
Oh.
This is about my dad. 30 years ago today, my dad passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he was a bus driver. So many years ago, he would tell me the funniest things about what happened at the bus garage or about the kids on the bus. And so one day I asked him, think I could do this, Dad? He said, I do. So I lived in North Canton, and I thought, well, I'll go up to North Canton. I put in my application, started the process, and this is my 30th year. So it's just such a, and it's all because of him. And so this
what
is
a great story.
What
a great legacy. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks
You're
for sharing that. Was he a bus driver in our district?
He was a bus driver for Canton City.
Okay.
And another little fun thing is when I was going through the classroom work, there was a lady in there, and she said she was from Canton City. And so I asked her if she knew him, and she did. And she was in there for OBI, which is onboard instructor. She is now my boss down at the bus garage, Debbie.
Debbie Dalton, yeah.
So,
great.
yeah, she knew my dad. And
Great.
so it's just been a lot of fun things to...
Yeah.
But today is very special, maybe a little bittersweet, but I was glad I could do it.
Well, thoughts for you and your family and
Thank
your
you.
dad.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a great legacy.
He loved it.
Yeah. So let's talk about your day. What's it typically include? What time do you start? What are the procedures you follow when you get to the bus garage? How's it start?
Okay, well, first of all, typical isn't a word I'd use. Our days are all different, but typically I go in, I'm there about 10 till 6 in the morning, so I get up bright and early at home. And the first thing you do is you go to your bus and do a pre-trip inspection. And that is checking to make sure the bus is all in order to take it out on the road. The lights, the brakes, the fuel, or not the fuel also, but the fluids inside the thing. So just a thorough check of the bus, and that's what we all do before we take the bus out on the road.
Right. So that pre-trip takes 10 or 15 minutes at least. Yeah.
Yes. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And, once you've been doing them for a long time, you kind of it just becomes routine and you know what to check. And so about 10 to 15 minutes, because at the end of your day, then you do a post-trip, and that takes about 10 minutes. So
Sure. Yeah. So that's, you see sometimes that with airline pilots on the movies and so on. They have this big long checklist, a pre-flight checklist.
Right.
Yeah. We're not flying buses, but we're driving them all over, right?
Yes.
Good. Well, when you, how long does your route take, and tell us a little bit about that on your route, and maybe some other special routes and how what they include.
Okay. Most generally, we all have an AM and a PM. And most routes are the same children in the morning and the same children in the afternoon. Some of us have a high school and a grade school. Some have middle school and a grade school. So that's pretty much what everybody does. Then there's myself. I have extra work, extra shuttles. I have preschool in the middle of the day. So I'm on the road about 8 hours. give or take, with that pre-trip.
And there's about
So-
4 preschool drivers,
Yes,
I believe. Yeah,
4
so,
preschool
yeah.
drivers, and then they also have some shuttles. So that's a typical morning, afternoon. And I come in about, like I said, 10 till 6, and I have a little downtime. That I go home for an hour or so. And then I get home in the afternoon around 5 o'clock. So it's a long day. It's a
Sure.
long day,
Yeah.
but I love it.
Yep. So most drivers have an AM or a 2-school shuttle, and some have both for secondary and an elementary. And then they also take those same kids home that day. And you're bus 47. We
I'm
know
bus
that.
47,
Yes,
and I do high school and Northwood Elementary and some shuttles, and then I do a preschool.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Great, good. So a little bit of numbers. We have about 50 buses, I think, that run on a daily basis approximately, some more, some less on certain days, plus field trips, athletic events, concerts, plays, and all those things all over the place. And how many, so we have about 50 drivers approximately. Then how many kids are on a typical route?
Typically, I'm going to say between 35, give or take, on a day. I counted my one kids the other day, and there were maybe 28. Now you have to keep in mind that every day is a little different because of sports.
Sure.
So they're on, they're off. When spring sports stops, then they're back on. So it's just a different number just about every day.
Right.
So
Right. And also on whether parents take their kids to school or not.
Correct.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And that
Yep.
fluctuates some on
It
parents'
does.
work schedule and those kind of things. Yeah. Good. One of the things that I had a question about is, how do you get your routes? You're bus 47. You have a certain route that you drive all year. How do you determine which one you're going to pick?
Well, at the beginning of a year in August, we have what we call route pick day, and we pick in seniority order. So the first person comes in and picks, the second person. Almost always, I shouldn't say almost always, a lot of times people will keep their own route.
Sure.
But there's changes. Maybe you want to go to the high school instead of the middle school. And so people pick differently. But I've had the same route for quite a few years, and I find that is easier
Sure.
because you know the kids, you know the parents.
Right.
And so we pick in seniority order.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's
Good.
how we
and
do
you know
it.
the routes. You know the tight corners. You know the problem areas.
Absolutely.
You know all those things. Yeah.
Yes, I could probably drive it with my eyes closed.
So you've had your same route for
I've had
10 years
this
or more?
route. I've had this route for a few years. Previous to this, I kept the one route for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you get to know the kids and their parents, and sometimes it's just easy to stay with
Sure.
what you know.
Yeah. And they are at ease with you, right?
Right,
Yep.
right.
Yep.
Familiar.
Yeah. Good. Well, so after the route, how do you finish your day?
After my route, I come in and we park in. We have designated spots to park in, and we then do what I mentioned before, the post trip, and that is to walk the bus, make sure you don't have any kids on the bus. You put a empty sign in your back window. I have to say that at the end of my day, I probably walk the bus 3 times, just because
Sure.
I'm going home for the evening. And,
Right. Well,
yeah.
we all go home from work, and sometimes that's a relaxation time. Same with our kids on the bus, and especially the young kids that go home last, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And that wouldn't be unheard of to find one asleep somewhere.
Absolutely.
and
And they have
that's why
fallen
we
asleep.
check those buses. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've actually gotten halfway back, even though I have a microphone and I do ask.
Sure.
I've gotten halfway back and I see the little head and turn around and go back. And you have to remember, my K through 2, if I'm driving down the road and I look up, I can't see them. They're
Right.
so little, and
Yeah.
my seats are high. So, yes, what I do also is at my very last stop in Greentown, I will drop him off, get him to his mom, and I actually check then also.
Sure. Check while you're out there, not
Yes.
wait until you're back to the garage.
Right.
Yeah. Great
Right.
point.
So that's something
Yeah,
I've done.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good.
A long time.
So you come back to the garage after your check and so on. You do all the same fluid checks and
No.
empty checks. Oh, you just
That's
do that
just
in
in
the
the
morning.
morning. That's a one-time pre-trip for all that, and then in the afternoon, it's just to, make sure that you have your lights out and you have no children, and you're ready to go home.
Sure. Yeah. Good.
So.
One of the questions I have, this wasn't on your list, so this is a zinger for you. But what's your biggest frustration as a driver out on the road? And
Well, that would come under challenges, I guess. And
Sure.
there are challenges you can control and challenges you can't. And some of the ones you can't are is weather, construction. All of a sudden, the road closes.
Yeah.
And you don't know it. That kind of stuff is you have no control. And so my challenges that I can control are, the behavior on your bus. I've always started from day one and kind of told them the rules, what to expect from me, what I expect from you. And that really is
clear expectations always help.
Yes.
Yep. Good.
But the roads, in the beginning of the year, we had all that construction on Main Street. It was quite the challenge.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Good. Well, over the last 5 years, you know that we've had a little trouble getting subs, as everybody has. It's all across the country. You see billboards now for bus drivers or bus subs and others too, but especially bus drivers, and you see it everywhere. Some of our listeners are thinking about becoming a bus driver, maybe, we're hoping. What's the process that they would go through to become a bus driver?
Okay, so I'm going to go from what I did, and it really hasn't changed all that much. You come in and put an application in up here. They contact you. The supervisor normally of the transportation department will call to see when the next classroom is available class. And we call it for new drivers. It's a 5-day class that you have to take. You do that. The other thing, too, is you go to the BMV and get a temporary packet, get your temps. You have to take a couple tests to do that, get your temps, do the classroom work, and then you come down to our bus garage, and we have what we call an OBI, onboard instructor. There's 2 of them now. And you work with her on the hands-on, learning everything about a bus, things you don't need to know or want to know.
Absolutely,
But you learn it all, every
Inside
piece
out.
of that bus.
Sure.
And then after you're done with that, she takes you to a site that a instructor, I suppose he's a state instructor, tests you. And you pass. And a lot of times you'll go down and maybe you will not pass the backup the first time. You don't have to go back and take everything.
I see.
You kind of go back and take what you've missed. So it's a process.
Okay. So it sounds a lot like a 16-year-old getting their license. I mean, you've got to have a temp license.
True.
You've got to take a class. Sounds like a 40-hour class or so.
Yes.
Then you have an onboard instructor where you're on the road. And how many hours is that approximately?
Oh, our instructors don't take you until they feel like you're really ready.
Till you master it. Sure.
You can say to them, I think I have it. Let's do it. Or, you can say, I think I need some more time. It's a lot. And, but.
Yeah. So as far as you know, it's a skills-based, not a time-based.
Correct.
Criteria.
Now, when you go down to the state, to the state instructor, it is timed for your pre-trip inspection. Then there's what we call a recertification. We have to do that every 6 years.
Okay.
I did mine last year.
Is that just the driving part or the class as well?
It's both.
Is it?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's a lot like what we do in the beginning, only we do 3-day class, and she does our testing. We don't have to go down and
Right.
do that. But so yeah, every 6 years.
And that's paid for by the district. We pay for training and everything.
Correct.
Yep. Good.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
So anybody that's interested can reach out to this district office or the bus garage. It's on our website also. You can
Sure.
fill out an application and start that process. It's a great thing. And it is a Class B license, not a Class A for a CDL.
It's CDL, and you get a school bus endorsement and a passenger,
Right.
which is a little different than maybe a truck driver.
Yeah, I think Class A is a truck driver, and they can't haul people.
Right.
Basically,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Far stricter standards. And I know a friend of mine was joking that he's doing the CDL and the onboard instructor piece right now.
Okay.
And he said the checklist is intense.
It is.
All the things that you need to do, the order that you need to check your mirrors and all the things inside and when you stop and all the hand signals for kids, and the safety is just paramount.
And even the wording. You have to, there's certain words you can't use and certain words you can use. It's a lot. But once you get past that and then you do the recerting every 6 years, it's a little less intense. Always made me nervous, but
Sure.
you do
Any
it.
kind of test does, right?
Right.
Wow.
So, yes.
Good. Well, we hope the folks take advantage of that and stuff. But what you mentioned some challenges, some of the things that you face. I have a particular question about other drivers and safety around a bus, and this seems to be and I talk to bus drivers quite often, but running the reds, when somebody sees that stop sign out, what's kind of the rule on the side of the bus? When do you need to stop, double, divided highway, and all that kind of stuff?
You always have to stop at when the stop sign's out, especially on a two-way, for sure,
Sure.
behind and in front. On a four-way highway, let me see, Cleveland Avenue, because we never drop off kids that cross.
Right. Of course not.
So, you the oncoming looking at you do not have to stop. They do though, and
Yeah,
I'm not
sure.
sure.
Always
It's
safe to stop.
safety, yes.
Always safe to stop. Yeah.
But yes, you must stop. And that seems to be a little bit of a problem. A lot of people are in a hurry.
Sure.
People don't want to stop.
Right.
And so your yellows come on, and that is caution. And by rights, they are allowed to, if they can get through that. I always like to put them on early
Sure.
enough to tell them, I'm going to stop. And but once that stop sign comes out, and we've had a lot of that happen. The nice part about the new buses, they have a camera on the outside. So when somebody has gone through my reds, there is so much information you have to have. It's very hard. If you're trying to get who's
Sure.
driving the car, what kind of car, did you get the license plate? Can you describe the person call? All that while you're driving a bus with
And
kids
while you're taking care of the kids that are getting
Right,
on or off, right?
right.
That's the most important thing for you.
So that camera
Helps a lot because
it
that
does.
takes some pictures and snaps
Yes.
all that information for you. And
It
we
does.
do contact, it's a routine for us. In fact, I think we're required to contact police, and then they investigate and have conversations and
Sure.
possibly ticket for those that violate the red lights on a school
Right.
bus. And the whole point of that is not inconvenience, it's for kids' safety, because a lot
Correct.
of times kids are crossing the street in front of the bus and
Yes.
all those things. So safety's
Safety
of course, important.
first, and that's you have to have. And when I started driving a bus, lots of mirrors, and that's one of the things in the test is you check every mirror, maybe twice, 3 times, and everything around you, and it's you have other people's children, and
Right. Sure.
It's-
Absolutely.
it's
yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your relationship with the parents. How do they help you in your job, and how do you work with parents?
I've always, let me back up. My very first supervisor told me something that always stuck with me, and she said, you don't need to be friends with the kids. Be friendly, be consistent, and be always fair. So that always stuck with me. And so then what I did was my little ones, high school, not so much, but my little ones, I try to meet the parent, and I have K through 2, so there always has to be a parent there. Form a great relationship with that parent, because that is it makes your life so much easier. And I have found that if I go to that parent first, don't go to the school or the principal or the supervisor. They really don't know what's going on there. So if I go to the parent first, we form that relationship. I say, can you please remind Johnny that he has to sit still on the, and that has worked for me for 30 years.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's about relationships,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So how about you have I'm almost positive you have a great relationship with your kids and their parents and so on. And tell me about some good stories, some warm ups, some warm stories.
Well, that was the hard one, because every day is different. You have no idea when that day is going to come when somebody just says the cutest things. I have one little boy that, Miss Pam, I love this bus. I'm glad you like this bus. I love you too. This is a kindergartner. And so you know that you're doing something right if they... Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't said, you need to sit still, honey. You need to sit still. But it's just very hard. That's my little ones. My preschool are the best. They're the most challenging.
Sure.
The most rewarding. They want to just love. And I love them all dearly. At the end of our preschool, when we're at the preschool and we're dropping them off, I let them get out of their belts and we sing, and they love it. And we count and we say ABCs, and they want to give you a hug before you get off the bus, and so that's just, that makes my day.
We need more of that, don't we?
That makes my It makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
It really does.
Very, very cool.
I'm not saying that everything is perfect. We've had some situations where it's a little more serious, but for the most part, I think if they know how to take you, you know how to.
Sure. Yeah.
If
you're
works.
honest with them and clear expectations, then we'll get along just great. We'll have fun with it. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Was there anything else you want to share with us?
All I wanted to really say was that the people that I work with, I look at them as a beautiful, dysfunctional family that you have at home, just like you have at home. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, when something happens, or there's something sad that happens down there, or we need to band together, there's no other better group. And
I think you shared the best word, family.
Family.
When you have 50 folks that work together or more with all the directors and mechanics and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a great family, and you guys are a great team. And I know that our community, I know that our administration is certainly proud of what you do, and we care about you. And I know our parents are too.
Thank you.
When they trust you to put them on and transport them, that's not an easy thing for new parents to let their 5-year-old hop on a big yellow bus and go. And we just wish it was so cool for middle school and high school kids to ride the bus as it was for elementary.
They're totally different. We could spend a lot of time on my high school. High school sleeps in the morning.
Sure. Yeah.
I could look up and think, do I even have anybody on this bus? They're so quiet. My afternoon high school is wonderful. I have a good group of kids.
Yeah, great.
Just before I leave, I do want to say thank you to I don't know if you call them support staff down there, but the supervisors, Debbie and Tracy, who will be leaving us.
Yeah.
Jen and Karen, who without them, I don't think it would work. Our mechanics that keep our buses going on the road.
That's right.
And our monitors. I have a monitor for preschool, and she's just wonderful.
Yeah, a couple things on those. Debbie Dalton and Tracy Hackeman are both they've been trying to retire for a couple of years, and
Yes.
we've been pulling them back and pulling them back and keeping them. But I think,
Right.
I think it's going to happen this year. We're going to lose them both. But they've been fantastic. And like you said, the support staff that run things, the secretaries, But I wanted to mention too that not only the mechanics but the aides. And some people might not know this, but we have some aides or extra helpers on the buses that aren't drivers that certainly help with kids with disabilities.
Absolutely.
And some of the young kids on the preschool buses, and so they're very important to us too, and they help keep things in order while you're operating basically a truck.
That's correct. Yes, if it weren't for her, I mean, she's just wonderful with my kids, and yes, the aides really are important.
Yeah.
I think you kind of forget you have aides down there on the buses. The special needs kids,
Sure.
I'm sure they get very attached to them. And
Yep. Right.
I did a shuttle with a special needs shuttle for a very short time. It was the best part of my day, actually. I had two kids. They were so kind and sweet and honest, and they will call you out. They're
Sure
honest.
they will.
And I loved them. I just loved those two.
Yep.
So.
Well, great. Well,
So many different kind of kids.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you for sharing your story, your parts about your dad,
Thank
and
you
your
for letting
family,
me.
your bus driver family. And if you want to join a great family and join a group of folks that are dedicated and caring people, contact our bus garage or our website to get an application. We'll train you up and have you join us. And it's just a very rewarding career, and thank you for what you do.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me.
Sure,
Thank
sure.
you.
Well, we appreciate Pam coming on and talking to us about how much we appreciate our drivers and how much they do. We can't do that in a 20 or 30-minute podcast, but it's just a wonderful thing. Your contributions are huge, and we thank you. Thanks to our listeners for joining us as we learn more about school district and community. Next week, we'll be talking to Emily Schaub and Taylor Sowers. They're two teachers in the district that are classroom teachers and are excellent teachers, but they're also excellent at running 26.2 miles at a time. So they're marathoners, and both are going to be running in the Boston Marathon. So we're going to have them on and talk a little bit about teaching and running. And so be interesting next week. So if you have any ideas for future podcasts, questions for us or anything, just send us your email at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. And we very much appreciate you listening to the Viking Spotlight. Go Vikings!